Big Bear Mountain is Dollywood's newest roller coaster and their most expensive attraction yet. At a cost of $25 million, this new Vekoma family multi-launch coaster is located in the back of Wildwood Grove, which is the kids section of the park. So that right away tells you this is not going to be a super extreme ride. It has a 39-inch height requirement, so you're getting like little kids that can ride this thing. It's meant to be their first big roller coaster, which makes a lot of sense when you consider that this is located at Dollywood, a park that receives more families than anything. It's around the same thrill level as the nearby Dragonflyer, which is another Vekoma roller coaster. Maybe a slight step up from like Fire Chaser Express, which is also nearby in the park. But what's so great about it is, when you think about some family coasters, they're almost kind of talked down upon by like those who are looking for a bigger thrill. You say, well, it doesn't do any of those crazy elements that I like, so it's not that good, but I think that this is a ride that just about anyone could enjoy. Die-hard coaster fans too. Is it going to be your favorite ride in the park? Well, no. But everything that this ride does, it does well. Starting first and foremost with the length. We're looking at almost 4,000 feet of track. An extremely long family ride. I almost compare this to like a modern day mine train. I look at a classic like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Many kids' first big roller coaster. Not too crazy at all. It's a bit of an older ride, but still a lot of fun. This is a bit of a step up. We're bringing in modern day technology, multiple launches, onboard audio, and it uses the terrain because of course Dollywood is located in the heart of the Smoky Mountains. This track hugs the ground for like a majority of the layout. I think you'll find that most of the maneuvers here are various turns and transitions. You'll bank one way, then the other, wrap around a helix, that sort of thing. Everything is just very cohesive. It's so fluid in the way it goes from one element to the next, and a couple of those turns are like decently forceful. It doesn't push it to the point where like a kid would get uncomfortable, both in the positive and the negative direction. So you'll see a couple of these hills right here that look like they would provide airtime, and that's just not really the case because of the audience that they're catering to. I would say Big Bear Mountain starts to give you like an introduction to airtime without actually lifting you up out of your seat. When you go over a hill, you feel like a little bit of tug, kind of gently raises you up and then you drop back down. I'd say the strongest positive G-forces here are in the spaghetti bowl at the end when it's getting like really low. I quite enjoyed the ending of this attraction. I don't know if it's my favorite part though, but I frankly don't know if I have a favorite part of Big Bear Mountain. It just feels so complete that weirdly enough, it doesn't have like a standout moment. Like I could go to most roller coasters and tell you that element in particular is the best part of the ride. And I don't feel like Big Bear has a singular best part. It certainly has some moments that are quite enjoyable. The launches are a lot of fun. Your top speed here is 48 miles per hour. I assume you hit that either at the end of the second launch or probably more likely the end of the third launch. Now, Big Bear Mountain also uses LIM launches, not LSMs. For you nerds out there, that's linear induction motors. A lot of launch coasters that you're probably familiar with, especially the thrill rides, use linear synchronous motors or magnets. LAMs are more common on some premier roller coasters like Flight of Fear is a great example. They kind of fell out by the wayside, but typically when you use LSMs, it requires more weight. That's why those larger trains have them. So what Vekoma decided to do is they approached Intrasys, which does a lot of launch systems. They've done them for a bunch of different companies, such as like B&M. They just used them on their new coaster pipeline. They came back with a more refined LIM system. It doesn't feel anything like those other LIM launches that you might be familiar with. If anything, it feels like an LSM launch. So it's going to be more punchy than like Fire Chaser Express's first launch out of the station. That uses drive tires, which still can be punchy, but it's really nice what they came up with there. I like this initial kick, plus the two boosters that you feel later. A lot of multi-launch coasters feature a top hat of some sorts, but that would mean having a big drop or forces that might be a bit too extreme for kids. So Dollywood opted for this like slanted upper section that twists and dives over the pathway. But when you're on it, you realize that you're actually kind of high up there. It's fun to look down at everyone below you, especially if you have family and friends who are just watching you go around. There's a lot of good vantage points of this coaster. You can just see it twisting everywhere. If you only get the chance to ride it once, I'd say ride in the front as opposed to the back. I think I like the way it takes some of these transitions a bit better up front, but I wouldn't say it's dramatically different. One of those transitions I like is immediately after that first launch out of the station. You rise up into this first banked hill, and when you're up front, you kind of dangle there, like stalling out while the rest of the train catches up. That first launch is just enough to get you going right before you hit your second one. And it really is just wild to me how much roller coaster they packed in here. Because this thing literally stretches all the way towards the entrance of Wildwood Grove, and this is a big area. When you see this turnaround section with this big waterfall, you aren't anywhere remotely close to the start and end of this ride. It's insane how massive this project is. I feel like most roller coasters would end where Big Bear Mountain hits its third launch. And there's still so much roller coaster that comes after that. But it just works here because none of the forces are too strong where you walk off feeling drained or overwhelmed. It never becomes too much. I think after timing it, it's about 80 seconds of ride time, which is a lot. There are plenty of roller coasters that are shorter than that, even when you factor in the lift hill. It's one of those attractions that as you're experiencing it, you can just tell it's well designed and engineered. Couple other things I like. The onboard audio. This is something that Dollywood absolutely did not need to ask for, but they did it anyways, and it is fantastic. The music that plays during this experience is the same music that you hear during the announcement video. It totally fits the experience. You also hear some narration and commentary from Ned Oakley. That's your main character of Big Bear Mountain. He's the guy that's out looking for the legendary Big Bear. It's like Tennessee's version of Bigfoot. He's like 2 or 3 times the size of a normal bear. And so as you're going around these transitions, he's like, bear right, no, bear left. You barely made it. He's bearing down. When you go through 2 different covered sections of this layout, you also hear the bear roar. That's gonna be over by the waterfall. And then that last little tunnel drop before you hit the brake run. And of course, Ned's like, was that Big Bear? Well, there's no way to know for sure. Guess you'll have to get back in line and ride again. Yeah, you get off the coaster and you never actually find Big Bear. So, oh well, too bad. Darn. Part of me really wishes that there was like some sort of like bear statue or animatronic. I don't know. Just something from the bear I feel like would have made this a bit more satisfying. But it's fine. I mean, the ride doesn't suffer just because there isn't one. Maybe that's the whole point, is like you're not really supposed to know for sure if Big Bear is real. I mean, I heard him though, but it might have just been a normal bear. Who knows? And hey, speaking of that waterfall, this is such an amazing structure. Before this attraction opened, this little section of Wildwood Grove was just kind of blank. They needed something. And having this coaster wrap around this upper section right alongside the pathway just works. And this waterfall is big. You definitely notice it more from the pathway than while you're actually on the coaster. But if you sit on the left side, you do get misted a little bit. Honestly, my only complaint with this is I wish there was more of this during the ride, because it's so nice, but some of this upper section is just kind of desolate. It's called Wildwood Grove, but there's not a ton of trees up here. Now, I can see that there's a couple new ones that have been planted, but at the moment they're small. I imagine they'll grow in, but I really feel like this experience would just be made if as you're going along this upper part, you're like weaving through trees. I don't know how possible that is though. I know Dollywood chopped down some trees that were getting a little too close to the coaster track around Lightning Rod and Tennessee Tornado, probably just in case of falling branches or something like that. So who knows if we'll eventually get that here. But overall, it's a very enjoyable attraction. I can easily see this being some kids or maybe parents' favorite ride here. I really do think that just about anyone could experience this ride. As for me, I got 5 rides in on it on opening day. I feel like I definitely got a good feel for it. I think next time I come back to Dollywood, just if I'm splitting my time up with all of the other fantastic coasters in this park, you know, none of them are bad. This is one that I'd probably do like 1 or 2 rides in on it and then go head somewhere else. That's just because I like the rides that push the limits. So like, yeah, I want to marathon Thunderhead and Lightning Rod. But this is not a coaster I would ever tell anyone to skip out on, that's for sure. It gives you more of a draw to go back into Wildwood Grove, spend time in that area, take in all the theming, the atmosphere that Dollywood created with this ride. Everything in this plaza and the queue just looks nice. I imagine this will also be a fun night ride because the train has working headlights and brake lights. You can see them a little bit during the day, but like I'm thinking about Christmas time, doing this in the dark will be pretty cool. I think that whole spaghetti bowl section is just gonna be pitch black. So for Big Bear Mountain's final score, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I think as far as family coasters go, this is one of the best ones. Just make sure that your expectations are in the right place before you go to experience this ride. Because I can see how if you look at the bear stats where you're like, oh my gosh, 3 launches, really long ride, tons of cool transitions, you could walk away underwhelmed. It's not gonna feel like one of those Intamin multi-launch coasters, you know? The best comparison I would make to this is the family boomerangs over in Europe. Obviously this doesn't go backwards, but think about the speeds and the forces that those attractions pull. It's like that, but on a much larger level. Even the train design is almost identical, like same lap bars and everything. But I think Dollywood and Vekoma should be proud of themselves. What they pulled off here is really, really cool. So I say, come out here and experience it. And if you have gotten the chance to ride Big Bear Mountain, please let me know down in the comments below what you thought of it, if you agree with the points that I brought up. If you're new to the channel, please go check out the playlist full of other coaster reviews that we've done. They're all available in alphabetical order by the coaster's name. We've reviewed rides from all around the world, including plenty of other family coasters too. So thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.